AMD is really on rise. If we see that the stock is up by more than 6% in one day, and within the past couple of months, just from September 2025, we can see that the stock is up by more than 40 to 50%. What is happening to AMD stock? This is what we're going to be exploring in today's video. So make sure you smash the like button and let's go. So basically what was happening is that AMD shares jumped by about 5 to 6% after KeyBanc upgraded the stock to overweight with a $270 price target, and as we know, the stock is sitting at a current $220 per share. So the upgrade was driven by signs of outsized hyperscaler demand and tightening server CPU supply. So let's kind of digest what is really being said here. So I'm going to be zooming right here. So KeyBanc analyst John Vin upgraded AMD to overweight and assigned the semiconductor stock a 270 price target. So basically we are sitting at 220. So for 270, that's around 15% or 20% increase, which is really a nice increase from the current levels as per this analyst. So KeyBanc had downgraded actually the stock AMD just a couple of months ago in April, or almost now 1 year ago, quoting, there would be an air pocket demand between MI355 and the launch of its rack scale Helios platform with MI455, which is not expected to ramp into volume until late 2026, and we're going to be really seeing about that. However, what they meant is with the MI355, this is the prior version, or the current actually version that AMD is really working on with the GPUs. However, now they are targeting the MI455, and they are saying that this MI455, which is for rack scale Helios platforms, is kind of being delayed, and there will be a pocket between these two, and that is what is kind of being described here. However, AMD has come up with MI400 and the other series. So really, Lisa Su is really doing her best to kind of push through things. So then the analyst then goes on to say that the recent surge in hyperscaler demand has led AMD to almost being completely sold out server CPU in 2026, and is potentially considering a price increase of 10 to 15% in Q1 2026 as when it comes to the prices of their CPUs, server CPUs. So basically a lot of people are really kind of pushing, or a lot of customers and companies are pushing and trying to buy AMD's CPUs in Q1 2026, and that's why this analyst is expecting that AMD, since everybody's kind of buying, there is high demand with the same supply, you're going to expect the price to increase, and that's what they're saying here is a 10 to 15% increase in price, which is, if you translate that into profit, that increases the stock returns by 10 to 15% if we're going to go with the earnings, per share, which really kind of drives the market value. So we estimate server CPU for AMD will grow at least 50% this year, which is really phenomenal. So now we can also see that AMD has really said a couple of things at a key investor presentation at the CES, which we're going to be digesting in just a moment. So here I'm going to go back for this. So shares traded around $220. Broader markets were mostly flat as US inflation data met expectations, keeping rate cut hopes intact. So KeyBanc warned AMD is close to being sold out of server CPUs for 2026, highlighting constrained supply, and kind of nearly sold out conditions suggest pricing power, and that is the 10 to 15% increase. And so investors typically reward this very quickly, and that's what's happening to the stock. So CEO Lisa Su unveiled AMD's Helios AI data center platform at the CES in 2026. So this is really where the meeting was. If you guys really saw that, this was really nice to see from the CEO Lisa Su, and she added a few nice things that we say here. So CEO described Helios as the world's best AI rack, directly challenging Nvidia's dominance with matching Nvidia's NVL72 from the one that we all know, the GB200, and the newer one GB300, which is Nvidia's cutting edge, extremely powerful powerful rack-scale supercomputer designed for high-performance computing or HPC workloads. And so basically what Lisa Su is saying is that they are now trying to compete and are the world's best AI rack solution. Just imagine that. That is really nice to see and hear from the CEO of AMD. So the announcement signals AMD's intent to move deeper into Nvidia's core AI data center territory, and AMD detailed its upcoming MI500, and that is really nice. I haven't heard of that before the CES 2026 GPUs, claiming up to 1000 AI performance increase versus the MI300. So what really happened, if we go on the details right here, so this is from the website techstock.com, and if you go down, you can see that investors are focused on the call to figure out if the AI build outs will keep ramping up through 2026, and this call is happening in just a couple of days in Feb 3, so just 2 weeks from now or even less, or if demand is simply moving from one supplier to the other, and that is what we're really going to be focusing on. So AMD has turned into a quick play tied to data center demand, which is really phenomenal for the stock, and they are predicted that the server CPU segment will grow at least 50% this year, according to KeyBanc, the analyst, and he also projected AI related revenue hitting 14 billion or up to 15 billion in 2026, driven by MI355 shipments and a ramp up of MI455 based Helios rack scale solutions. So AMD, for the immediate focus, is not new products and launches, but rather on mix and pricing. So server CPUs remain a reliable backbone, while the newer Instinct accelerators aim to capture a larger share of AI spending, which has so far favored Nvidia. And because Nvidia really has a very high market share, reaching up to 90%, which is what AMD is trying to compete and go for. So according to Yahoo Finance, so Nvidia holds around 88 to 92% of data center GPU market, and AMD Helios platform matches Nvidia's new NVL72 system with 72 MI455 chips, delivering 3 AI exaflops per rack, which is a really nice jump. AMD's MI500 series, which is really expected to come in 2028, 2029, targets 1000 performance gain over MI300 series in 2027 using 2nm process and HBM4E memory, which is the new type of generation. So AMD has entered the AI chip space much later as compared to Nvidia. We know that Nvidia has come early on, and that is why they have a very high market share. However, AMD, although they came late, they are effectively starting from a minimal base around 2 years ago with the launch of its Instinct MI300X in late 2023. Excuse me for that. So what we go on to say that really what AMD is doing right here is that they are kind of building a lot of things for the future, 2026, 2027, and 2028 by max. I believe AMD is really going to be on the rise for the stock by more than 2 to 3x from these current levels, in my personal opinion, although you will have to do your own research on that. So investors now look to AMD's Feb 3 earnings for confirmation of data center demand strength, and guidance on pricing, supply constraints, and AI accelerator ramp will be closely watched. And that is why the stock's near-term direction depends on whether sold-out quote conditions translate into sustained revenue growth. So as we said, the CPUs are kind of almost sold out by now. That's why we expect a price increase by 10 to 15%. However, will that be sustainable for Q2, 3, and Q4 2026 or not? That is what we're going to be seeing in AMD's Q1 in Feb 3 earnings results, or sorry, Q4 2025 earnings results. And that's why AMD's story is shifting from product potential to execution and at scale. And I will be seeing you guys on Feb 3. That is really something that we will be having on the channel here. We're going to report the news and we're going to see what the stock would do by that time.